Well, tariffs are still on the table. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin says the December round of tariffs on Chinese goods will take effect if there is no deal. Our next guest says the first part of the deal should be easy to paper. The rest, not so much. Here he is, Riley Walters, policy analyst for Asia Economy and Technology at the Heritage Foundation. Riley, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, it seems easy. Why don't we just trade the December tariffs for putting what was just agreed to on paper and get phase one signed, sealed, and delivered?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of negotiating still going on between the United States and China. Phase one of the deal, as you mentioned, I think it could be pretty easy to get done. If you look back at May, when things really fell apart, it seemed like they had pretty much already agreed to about 2/3. It was that 1/3 left of the deal that really kind of threw things under the bus. So that's why I believe phases 2 and 3 might be a little harder to negotiate, but phase one shouldn't be too hard to get. The problem is now just writing the text and agreeing to it in a month.
Yeah, absolutely. It should be easy because the sticky issues, the dodgy issues such as forced transfer of technology, intellectual property, that's not being discussed at this phase. I want to go through some headlines. A difference of tone this morning. The U.S. and China on this same page, that coming from the South China Morning Post. Another one, the breakthrough negotiations should be celebrated, not dismissed, but do you trust this change of tone this morning? Our futures are up here in the U.S.
I think markets, are just responding accordingly. Anytime there's positive news on the trade front, they respond accordingly. I think there is a fair amount of skepticism, of course, getting to the deal next month. Obviously, it is just an agreement in principle right now, so a lot of things will need to be put into text and signed between the leaders on the summit sidelines of the APEC next month. But I think there is some positives to take from this. Obviously, the removal of tariffs today, or at least the suspension, is good. They're at least talking about December and whether we could or could not. Obviously, they're not making a decision on December's tariffs. I would actually prefer them to start talking about the removal of tariffs and, actually helping out American consumers before the Christmas season comes around.
Right, the December 15th tariffs.
Right, but of course, there's a lot of trust building that needs to be made right now between the two sides.
Are you surprised at all that China has taken it this far? I mean, you look at the data coming out of Beijing, the latest this morning, factory deflation because of weak demand, consumer prices soaring because of a lack of pork prices up almost 70%. And then Hong Kong. Are you surprised that President Xi is playing ball the way he is?
Not at all. Obviously, China, they're going to try and be as tough as they can. Obviously, the way that they kind of sell this is it's foreign coercion, right? This is the United States being unfair, even though it is China's unfair trade practices that we're trying to adjust. So it's not a big surprise. And of course, we have to take this week's economic data out of China with a grain of salt. There's a lot of macroeconomic problems that they're dealing with right now as well.
All right, Riley Walters, thank you for trying to explain it all to us. But 15 months in, and we're basically where we started with these trade talks. Riley, thank you.
Thank you.
And trade certainly still has got, the market's eyes this morning. There's optimism that things are kind of moving forward. Still Dow up 87 right now, S&P up 11.5, NASDAQ up 33 3/4. We're still talking about that first phase of a deal.